Hey everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Tamara.
And this is
Hex-Files.
dun dun dun.
Wa-da-da.
I don't know why it feels like we haven't recorded in a while, but we have. It's just been with guests.
So much recording.
Actually, it's because we recorded with Nightgeist, and that was before we came back from our little break, because everybody needs a break.
Yeah.
But we recorded with the Old Gods. If you haven't listened to the Old Gods episode, like, what? What
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, but also, like, Old Gods is the shit.
They for real are.
But the moment everybody's been waiting for, this is the return to Medoc Mountain State Park.
Dun dun dun.
Part 2.
Return to Bigfoot.
The returning. But we want to do a couple things first. Like, let's shout out our patrons. I'll go first in the Haints. We have Corey and Lane of New World Witchery, Joanne, Melissa D, Chris of Pagan Ironworks, Ashley C, Amanda F, Mary, Allison, Aura, Shannon, Alex, Ashley, Lilith, Liz, Amanda of Bellfire Apothecary, Salvo Sea Witch, Cryptid Baddie, Lorraine, Nightgeist Podcast, that is Erica and Liana. And then we have Jason and Melanie of Spooky Charlotte, and a new patron, Devin, who's an amazing artist. Glad to have inspired some familiar work there on my other podcast, Cursed. And do you want to read the poltergeist?
And for our poltergeist, we've got Rachel the Pickety Witch, Temple, Luna, Heather, Abiel, Jessica, Tiffany, Stephen, Zach, the Church Grim, Stephanie, Emily, Jen, Nessie, Wednesday, Mina, Ashley of Cryptid Coven Creations, and Katrina of Resilience Wellness and Therapy.
And then we also have a super secret unpublished tier that someone wormed their way into, and that is
Brett Manning at the Phalian level.
Yeah, and she is of Brett Manning art, which is amazing, and we really want to collab with her one day, so
She's going to tickle the back of your brain.
yeah, and then some.
Yeah.
But we want to tickle your front parts by doing merch.
Your prefrontal cortex.
And we might have merch coming up. I mean, if someone were to go back and look at Cursed podcast, where Hex-Files kind of started, took on a life of its own, but in the beginning it was mini episodes. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah.
And I feel like a year is a good time to do things for people.
Right.
And maybe our patrons might get a little gift in the mail.
Ooh.
So look out for that if you're a patron. There's always time to sign up. For as little as $1, you get all these bonus episodes and behind the scenes footage. Sometimes we do, like for the 5 and ups, you can get involved in investigations. We did a haunted doll where people got involved and we got some crazy results.
It was a great party.
It was a great party. But we have some other stuff in the works that is going to be awesome. You can catch us currently on every other Sunday now. Because we have so much in the works, we went from weekly to bi-weekly again on Witch With Me TV. But if you go to Instagram, you can go to Witch With Me.
And there's so many other good creators
TV.
on Witch With Me TV.
Oh, 100%. And like, it's a lot of fun. And we love Witch With Me. We love Meg and Key over there. So, and there's so many other people, so we're not forgetting you. But yeah, check them out. And then the TV thing, like, they're 2 to 5 minute clips, sometimes a little bit longer. But
It's really concentrated, really good information.
Right. And we're on there, but we're stupid. Like, go for the traditional witchcraft. There's like kitchen witchery every Saturday. Our good friend Julia of Witchcraft Cocktails, she's doing her second book right now, but she's on there with cocktails. We're drinking what?
Speaking of cocktails, we are
Some
drinking
kind of monstrosity.
the new release from Hendrix, the Lunar Gin.
If you'd like to sponsor us, Hendrix, our email is hexfilespod@gmail.com. But Lunar is no... What is the other one?
Orbium.
Orbium. Lunar is no Orbium, but it is pretty good.
It is good. It's kind of warm. It's round. It's soft. It's like the summer breeze.
Yeah, but they're not paying us, so we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, bye.
call us.
We miss you.
Right, we miss you. There's so many other liquors that could sponsor us, but
Settlers.
which you'll see in the future. But coming up, like maybe if you're interested and you're listening to this and you have a small business or a shop, like we're interested in doing some sponsors. Like, but we don't want to like. Yes, we're selling out, but we never said we wouldn't.
Right. If you had any faith in us in the other direction, that's on you.
Yeah, that's your fault. But we're not selling out. Like, we're not going to try to sell you mattresses yet. But we are going to try to, like...
I do be loving some mattresses, though.
We do want to sponsor with some people that we think, like, our listeners would be interested in because we're interested in. And that could be artists. That could be, like, witch shops. That could be... I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
So we're
Authors.
open. Authors, yeah. So if you want to hit us up, I promise we're getting... It's probably too low for us, but we're getting into the game of trying.
We just want to put cool people with cool products.
Right, and help fund the podcast because it does cost money.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to be rich off this because we're not good enough at it.
Honey, if I was trying to be rich, I would have done a lot of things different.
First off, we would not be drinking. Or would we?
Probably.
But all that being said, that's where you can find us. But where you could have found us, what, end of last month, a couple weeks ago, was back at Medoc.
Medoc.
Some people say Medoc, but it's in North Carolina. It's basically Virginia. It's near Littleton, North Carolina.
It's like north central North Carolina.
Right.
How'd they get a mountain?
I don't know. And it says there's a mountain, but I didn't see a mountain.
But probably for flatlanders, for coastal people, that seems like a mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. But we want to tell you about that because like our last trip, which is episode 12, give or take, I think it's 12. We went and looked for Bigfoot, and you probably heard about that. It's one of our higher downloaded episodes, so I know you guys will care about Bigfoot.
I know you heard it.
We know you heard it. But we want to talk about like the shit we found this time, which is it gets more in depth.
Yeah. You have to go a little bit deeper in the rabbit hole.
I think we're getting into some shit. But for a quick recap, we went to the Dismal Swamp. We may have found a print. We didn't think about it. We ended up there by synchronicities. You'll have to listen to the Swamp episode too. But when we ended up at the Bigfoot spot, it was kind of by accident. We had no idea what we were getting into.
There are no accidents.
Right. And we think that we're onto something. I don't think we're super special because there's a lot of people that are out there almost every weekend looking. But I do think we're bringing a different approach than most people.
I think so too.
But so I don't remember the dates, but we were like, let's rent a van.
Mm-hmm.
And
cool ass van.
We wanted to rent a van before now, but those vans were taken. Things didn't work out. We're like, eh.
But the van was really cool. It was like a queen size bed. It was a kitchenette with running water, stove, oven.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
a big cooler.
Heat.
No
fridge, but the cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, an oven and a stove.
You could stand all the way up.
Yes. And
you could plug shit in.
It was like one of those commercial like Ford vans that was like outfitted for camping, and it was really cool. And it was good that we had it because it was raining a lot.
So much, too much, in fact.
But we got there. We went, and we were like, okay. Last time we saw a bunch of synchronicities. We saw a bunch of numbers. We saw a bunch of Bigfoot stickers, and we're like, I don't know. I'm always in that like camp of, am I going to see this again? Am I going to see more? Or am I just like making this shit up and I'm not going to see any of it?
Right. Was it a one time only?
Right.
Or can we reproduce the pattern?
But I will say that there was a different pattern this time. We were seeing, like last time we were seeing a lot of 333s, which is big for us. 444, 222. This time we were getting like higher up.
Yeah.
Like before then we had been seeing a bunch of 555, and we were like talking with, like, if you're observant and clever, and we know our listeners are, you've probably already seen, like, I know what they're talking about. We're not announcing it yet, but we do have something cool in the works with some friend of ours. Mm-hmm. And we had just talked to them about doing this new venture, and it's like 555, and that's like, oh, financial this, financial that, 888. And I'm not talking
New
about
opportunities.
right. I'm not talking about that we were seeing like billboards with phone numbers for 1888 because that doesn't hold any relevance to us.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, oh my God. And it gets to the point where it's almost insane. It's almost embarrassing. It's like, how?
Like, should I even point this one out, or is it cliche at this point? I
Right.
mean, we've been on the road for 30 minutes. Is it now cliche to continue to point out these same repeating numbers?
But my thing is, why don't we see in like the same ones, or we're seeing out of state licenses because we even talked about, we saw the Fae, we saw that this time too.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe like the Charlotte area has a lot of Faes, but some of these are out of state. They're different states.
Yeah.
and
We're way outside of the Charlotte area.
even on our off days, we're like, why aren't we seeing these as much? And it's like, I mean, goddamn, it's like I said, it's embarrassing, and I don't even feel like you would believe us. So we're big fans of Hellier and the New Kirks, and Connor and Tyler and Coral, and we are members of their museum, the Clubhouse, because we love their Patreon and we're members of that. And I feel like anytime we're in there and we post like our cool shit, they're like, oh, are you guys trying to pander? But we try not to name the podcast. Like, we're
Yeah.
not trying to like sell ourselves, but we're trying to like talk to people that think this shit is cool and interesting like we do.
We just happen to have a podcast. We're having the same experiences that we would have, podcast or no.
Right. And these, like, I mean, if you're a fan of the New Kirks and Hellier and stuff, like, you get it. Like, we're not the only ones seeing Mylar balloons. But, so if you're on the Clubhouse, like, we're on there. What's up? We're trying not to pander. We're trying not to be those people, but we want to share our adventures. They just happen to coincide with trips for podcasts. But at the end of the day, like, I didn't even think, like, I think we've made 3 posts regarding investigations. And I was never like, oh my God, I can't wait to share this on the Clubhouse. It was always something happened that was relevant enough to be like, you think that the Clubhouse people would be like, oh my God.
Well, yeah, there's like equal weirdos, so surely they care, right?
Yeah. But it started, like, that tangent and thought started with, I want to ask Dana because I saw her we saw them on something, Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And she had a call and we're like, we're going to go look for Bigfoot. Can you recommend anything? And just the fact that they give us attention, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Because they're super busy.
They're busy, but they're like
a ton of irons in the fire.
But they're also very down to earth, and they like care about their fans, and they care about like the community. Like, you can tell they're very like, so she gave us like a little thing. We're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And all this is being said because we're like, it's gonna matter that we're in this Hellier mindset. So I'm trying to think, like, okay, I started reading this new book.
Yes.
It's new to me. And I haven't got volume 2 yet, and I need to, but it's Where the Footprints End. Greg recommended it to me on Twitter after some little thread we got into. I still don't understand Twitter, but it's by like Timothy Rainier and Joshua Cutchin. And the art is phenomenal. I'm like, this is amazing. I want this as a poster. And it's exactly what I wanted it to be. Like, I picked it up, started reading it, and I'm like, oh my God. So if you don't know, Timothy has a podcast called Strange Familiars. It's a really popular podcast. Our friend Brett the Phalian recommends it.
I'm sure she loves that being her last name, Brett the Phalian.
The Phalian. And so we're listening to it, and they have we're listening to the episode where Joshua Cutchin is on, and we're listening to Where the Footprints End and how Bigfoot might be a spiritual being. And I love the book doesn't say like their opinions. They're just saying like, this is all the stuff. How can you ignore all this stuff?
Right. It presents you with almost endless possibilities, almost endless connections, such a web, but leaves you to kind of draw your own conclusions.
When I read it, I'm like, okay. So I applied. This is another little tangent, but we can edit it out and add it to Patreon if we have to. But I applied before I knew what it was. specifically, I applied to the North American Wood Ape Conservancy. No,
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but it's like I applied to that because I'm like working on the MUFON thing. I'm a little behind, but I need to catch up.
Do it.
My study partner Heather and Temple, like, get on it. Help me out. But no, I was applying to that, and it's like I was filling out their questionnaire because I was like, I would love to be. We're already doing this. Like, I would love to be that little contact that like helps share reports and talk to people, because it's not just for the podcast. Like, we want this quest, and you know me, I'm like trying to find out. Like, I just want to talk to these people, and I filled out these forms, and I was like, I don't think people look at Bigfoot open-minded enough. I think they look at him as like, or them. I'm not going to try to gender Bigfoot, but I feel like people look at Bigfoot as too ape-like, flesh and blood and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm really open to this and spirituality and all this and where I come from. And like within 10 minutes, they're like, your application has been denied. And I was like, what? And
Was it my grammar?
and then getting Discovery Plus and watching like more Finding Bigfoot than I ever have in my life for the sake of entertainment. And I'm not saying that what they do doesn't matter, because I think it does. But I was like, oh, that's why. Because they're like, this fucking woo-woo motherfucker talking about Bigfoot is an alien. No, I don't think Bigfoot's an alien. I think Bigfoot's a phalian. I was like, now I understand it. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to be that close-minded about Bigfoot. Like, it doesn't mean I throw science out the window. I'm just saying, if this is an entity that has famously been looked at through the eyes of something more, something other than what we can understand as flesh and blood, then why, like, would we throw that out the window?
Right. And humans didn't rise to the top of the food chain because they're not able to track animals. We didn't reach our place as a species that we have on the planet because we don't understand biology or science.
Right.
There's something outside of that.
Yeah, and this book approaches it from like we're not trying to tell you what we think it is or what it isn't. We're trying to tell you that there's more that goes into this whole story than the common, like, it's a lost ape or a missing link, or an evolutionary cousin.
400-year hide and go seek champion.
Right. Because come on, like, I mean, we're awful. Like, we're trash, and we would think that that was better. Bigfoots would be better, but they would leave evidence. And the fact that you see footprints and then they kind of stop is kind of the idea of like, well, you could say, is that a hoax? But like, at what point do you stop ignoring people that have paranormal experiences and start lumping it into the umbrella of doubt, or I don't know, or because nobody fucking knows.
No.
But you can't ignore the Bigfoot as a whole, as an entity, because it's like, it's in too many stories. It's in too many lore in different cultures across the globe that never communicated. And I'm not trying to get all ancient alien fucking History Channel about it.
Bigfoot.
Right. But I feel like there's something. Like, we don't question when we talk about, like, because, I mean, we see cats and we have cats. That might be a bad example. But when we see cats in, like, Egyptian drawings and we see them mummified and we see stuff, we don't doubt the existence of cats. We know that they were important to that culture, too. And Floki's over here with, like, yeah, that is me.
Right.
Worship me. I'm your producer. But...
You guys are doing awful so far. Continue.
So I thought, let's listen to that podcast. Let's listen to the Bigfoot specific. Let's get in the mindset. Like, I'm ready. I'm hyped. And our trip up there before, we had seen Mylar balloons twice. Same ones, but we went up there before to the swamp, and I was like, oh shit, Mylar balloons. Then we went for Bigfoot, same route, just a different variant at the end. And I was like, those are the same balloons, but they're still there. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything. But we had changed our date for that first Bigfoot trip. And when we went to get a Christmas tree, we saw Mylar balloons getting the tree.
Yeah.
And we changed our date, and we found like some cool stuff. We heard what we think is Bigfoot howls or calls. Because I don't think people could do that. But so I think this is all in intertwined, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like, well, those are the same Mylar balloons you saw before, but the fact that they're still there might mean something. They weren't there this time.
No, they were down.
And it's been a couple months. So we're listening to that, and I'm listening to one of them that's like how the Fae is tied with Bigfoot. And
Which I love.
right. Yeah, me too. And we're driving, and I was like, okay. And Timothy says to the guest, and I forget the name, he says, oh, check out our Patreon episode because we're going to be talking about Mylar balloons. And just kind of a passing. And no shit, there was a Mylar balloon on the ground. I couldn't make it out, but it was gold foiled. And it was a Mylar balloon amongst the trees, but flattened on the ground. And I was like, and we're driving on the highway. We can't turn around. We can't take pictures. It's like, fuck. And I was like, hold on. So I rewound it. And you were like, what? Because you're looking at your phone. And I was like, listen to this part. Listen to this part. And it said Mylar balloons. And your face was like, oh, shit. And I was like, yeah, I just saw it right after he said it. So we became members of Strange Familiars Patreon just to hear this bonus episode. Immediately. And so I would love to have them on. I need to reach out to them. And so they didn't mention anything except Mylar balloons. We start playing the Patreon episode, and they're talking about things. And we're like, what? Like, not even an hour down the road, but we're still way down the road. Same highway. And they start saying like, oh yeah, let's talk about like this Mylar balloon incident. And like, let's talk about Mylar balloons and like blah, blah, blah. And then hanging from the trees, and we both saw this, a gold star Mylar balloon.
Yeah.
It wasn't a blue star like Hellier. But then he starts saying like, oh yeah, apparently Mylar balloons show up and there's a lot of like these things. And then they start talking about Hellier, and they're like, when I watched Hellier and I saw them talk about Mylar balloons, it's like, oh my God, we're not the single ones on this. And so many people have experiences and it's not to say that every Party City and every Walmart and all these places and grocery stores don't have Mylar balloons.
What up, Dollar Tree?
Dollar Tree. But I honestly can't fucking tell you the last time I saw a Mylar balloon that did involve an investigation. I mean, in the wild.
Yeah.
I see them every day. I go in and get Starbucks at a coffee shop.
Yeah, they're always there for investigations.
Or at a grocery store. Right. And it's like, yeah, you see me. So we're already like, oh my God, Hellier, call Greg, call Dana. They don't know us. There's a tin can gonna pop up somewhere.
Get him on the phone.
The balloons were cut off. And we're like, get the Newkirks on the phone. Oh my God. They're like, we told you we're not taking calls. But
nah, dude, nah. I'm like real freaking out right now. Like I'm for real freaking out now.
Right, bruh. And these aren't like Spider-Man or unicorn Mylar balloons, which when my birthday comes up, like I'm big fans of both those things. But these are like stars, and I know they're common, but like still, we don't see them and be like, oh, isn't that funny that we saw a Mylar balloon when we're not looking for Bigfoot?
But they're not outside of neighborhoods when we see them. They're so far away.
Somebody on the in the highway, and I mean, we're very trashy people, not us personally, but as a whole, as a species, we're very trashy. And so there's trash everywhere. It's like, oh my God, if we started talking about cigarette butts or McDonald's wrappers, then it'd be like, okay, well,
I've seen 7 Mountain Dew bottles today.
Right. Huh, what could that mean?
It means something.
So we see those balloons, and I know this is like on a little tangent, but I promise it matters because like it's a big deal to us, and we're talking about how we don't see Bigfoot stickers like we did last time. Every 20 cars we saw a Bigfoot, a Bigfoot bumper sticker. And they're popular because they're at REI and all this stuff, but like they're different. And I was like, shit, maybe that means we're going to find goblins or some shit, but we're not going to find Bigfoot. So we start getting closer, and there's lots of hawks this whole time. Of course.
So many that you saw that I didn't see, which is different. Because they're like sort of a meaningful animal to me. Not sort of, they're a very meaningful animal to me. And I spot them from far. You saw so many I didn't and couldn't see.
I saw their little white puffy chests.
Yeah, their leggies.
And I was like, damn, I can't believe we haven't seen Now, this Mylar balloon, by the way, was like right at the exit we had to take to go towards this place. It was like maybe not even a quarter of a mile before we had to turn at the exit. So we turned down the exit, and we're talking about the balloons and like, oh shit, oh my God, like once is one thing, but twice, and not just while we're listening to it. It's not just like, oh, isn't that a coincidence? Like, they mentioned mylar balloons, and then within, I was 5 minutes is even too long, a mylar balloon pops up.
Right.
And I'm like, it's almost like Timothy made it exist.
Right. He called it down.
So we're driving and like we're getting to the little town, and I'm like, God, we haven't seen like a fucking Bigfoot sticker at all. And then like right in front of us is a truck with a Bigfoot sticker. And we see it just long enough to see the sticker, and so it starts to rain, and we're like, oh fuck, it's gonna be rainy. But we get there, we park, we get the spot. The spot is known for interaction, not just sightings, but like the person that stayed there months ago said that he thought something came into his camp.
Yeah.
He heard and saw something. He was like, it shouldn't have been a bear, and it was large, and I was too scared to look at it. That's our story from our friend that's down there.
Yeah.
And rocks have been thrown at the site from the ridge. There was a FLIR hit on the ridge that we went to last time. So we're like, okay, we got a little bit of daylight left. There's not much we're going to get done tonight. Let's go to the ridge and leave an offering.
It was pouring cold rain.
Yeah. So we go back to that ridge. We looked at our offerings last time. Everything was gone except for the monies.
Yeah.
The coins, which is okay. You don't have to take it for an offering to count. Follow Curse to find out more. But we took one a coin from there.
The one of coins.
And we were like, we know they like apples. We know they like candy bars and stuff. Like, we had a cool spirit box with them last time, which we still need to upload to Patreon. We meant to, and we forgot all about it because we went on a break.
We found that wild bone.
The minute we got on that trail, there was a scapula of some critter, and I still don't know. Probably
Like
a raccoon,
medium
maybe a coyote.
Yeah.
What ate the coyote? It's too small to be a deer.
Man, I want Bigfoot. Like, I want to believe that he's vegan.
Well, that doesn't mean he ate it, but who left? There was a bone there,
Just one.
and it was an old bone. It wasn't a fresh. We found plenty of bones that still has good meat in them.
Yeah.
That stinks.
The icky
And
ones.
bugs on them. But this one had been out there. It was sun dried. It had a little bit of like age on it,
Bleached.
but it was right on the trail. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we found a bone and then we go like 20 feet in and I was like, oh my God, that's a bone. And so we go up to the hill. We set the trail cam up right on the little face dump that we left an apple on before. Because we're trying to go for like consistency.
Right.
And like, we're here. We're the same people. Like, we're trying to build a tradition with you, so to speak. Like, every time we go up there, we're going to leave an apple at least on that stump.
Right.
And
It's our way.
this is the way.
Yeah.
And we put the trail cam up, saw the tree breaks. I mean, it's just that spot has so many tree breaks. But listen to that episode to hear all about that. And you can also see Witch With Me TV. We're going to post some of these longer videos on YouTube, but we did a little quick part 1. And we hear like, I think you heard a call and I heard a knock.
Yeah.
And we're like, what was that? But then we go back to the site and we build a fire. We felt kind of disconnected, especially you. You're like, I just don't feel connected to anything right now. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't feel as special and it's charged as last time.
It was like when you try too hard. Like when you get so super dressed up to go out and you're like, shit, I got all dressed up for this? Like, what the hell?
What to hear?
What the hell?
But we're like, let's make the best of it. We had a good fire going.
Yeah.
Still
Worked hard
raining.
for it.
And we were tired. We'd been driving all day. And we're like, well, tomorrow we can hike and do all this shit. Let's go back into the van and let's do a spirit box session. Let's read tarot first.
Yeah.
And honestly can't tell you what we pulled that first night. We have it on a digital recorder that we haven't listened to. We're fucking awful. But like, you're talking about like 40 minutes of audio that nothing weird happened. So it's like, there still could be EVPs, but it didn't feel like there would be.
No.
And we had like some cards. We figured out meanings. We'll tell all the cards together, I feel like. But Spirit Box didn't do shit.
At all.
I thought it was just because of the van, but it's like just being out there. And last time we had Spirit Box hits, we had like a little conversation.
Yeah, we had really, really good results.
Yeah, and this time was just static. So we went to bed. We were like, we're not really getting much. Like, why stay up forever if we're not getting anything? Like, not even like maybe two words that didn't really match. And it's like, this is nothing. We're not getting anything.
Yeah, there was no verbiage at all. It was only static.
And remembering like our tarot that we had just done, we're like, well, let's not try too hard. Let's just try to like be in it. And I was falling asleep and I was like, oh my God, like what if something is like looking in the window? Like, it's all fun and games till you're face to face with one. And then it's like, your life is forever changed.
Yeah, and I always think about that. Like, what the hell are we going to do if we find a Sasquatch?
Like if we come up on one in the woods.
If one lets us find it, what are we going to do?
I don't know.
Piss ourselves.
Right. But like at the same time, it's like, I want that more than I don't.
Yeah.
It's like I want that problem. Like, what do you do if you find a Bigfoot? I want that problem more than I don't want to ever know.
Right.
So we went to bed. We woke up the next morning. We're like, let's go check the offerings. And they were just there. We put the bone. We put the coin. We planned on keeping the bone unless it disappeared. We thought the bone was a gift. And then we're going to take the bone and leave it somewhere else, like close to us or the mountains. Because this is not the mountains of North Carolina. We're like, it's a gift that keeps on giving. And it's like, we met your cousin.
Right.
Dwayne. Or whatever. What do we call Daryl?
Larry Bobby.
Daryl. So there was nothing with that. So like, we're like, let's hike this whole trail. And tons of mud. Heard some kind of knocks here and there, but it's like nothing like crazy loud. And I know there's Bigfooters out there, but not really where we were. To come to find they were other places.
Yeah, like maybe about almost 2 miles away is where the big
Probably
Bigfooters
way
go.
more.
Yeah.
We saw like evidence of beavers at one little section, like the nod trees and the little like spikes that they make. We found another ridge that felt special.
It felt incredibly special. So my intention for the whole trip, after we did the tarot reading where it was like take it down a notch, like really like get back to it or whatever, was like I'm here for like a spiritual experience. Like maybe I'll find Bigfoot, maybe I won't find Bigfoot, but when we found that spot, I was 100% like in that spiritual place because it felt like you could feel the energy rise up.
No, and I just kind of let you have a moment.
Yeah.
I was over there doing like tree knocks and like across the river. It's called a creek, but like it's a small river. It's a big creek, small river.
Especially with as much rain as we've had.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna let you have like a moment. And there was a bunch of tree breaks and shit.
Well, there were like trees that were slanted and they were all equidistant apart. They were all equidistant in diameter.
Too perfect? Not perfect, but like they were too patterned.
Yeah, like patterns of course exist in nature, but patterns like that don't always. So they can catch your eye. And it was sort of like step back and look around. And instead of just looking in front of me, like I elongated my gaze and I could see that there were those 3 trees that were the exact same diameter, that were angled in the exact same angle, that were pointing in the same direction. And I looked in the direction they pointed and I saw a tree structure. And then it was like it created like a circle. There were a circle of architectural events happening around me. And like I was saying, like you could feel the energy like raise up from the ground. And it felt like fast moving energy through there. Like you could go really fast. Like you could go fast spiritually. Like you could go fast physically.
Look how fast I can go.
Yeah, look how fast.
But like I liken it to like, okay, if you walk into maybe an empty house that's been built and nothing lives in it. Let's say that's a forest. You're like, this is a forest, this is a house, there's nothing in here. Mm-hmm. But if you walk into where somebody has even lived for a little period of time, whether it's decorated or not, you feel the energy that this space contained something. And you feel that. And I know we sound ridiculous, but as somebody who grew up in the woods, who's been all over, like, I've been through a bunch and I can say this tree looks cool or this animal looks cool or I saw a lizard but there's sometimes where you just stop and you're like, this is different.
Yeah. Yeah, it strikes you different. It lays different. It holds you differently.
And the ridges felt like, okay, you, when you're Bigfoot, the consensus is they like to be up higher to get a vantage point on everything, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You're
all
watching
animals.
people, you're trying to hide. But then at the same time, it's like these ridges felt, I don't want to say sacred in maybe the way that humans think sacred, like holy, but like these are important places.
Yeah.
These are maybe where they commune, or these are where they hang out. It's enough to make these structures. I mean, there was a tree that, and the other ridge, like these little thin branches, and yeah, they were small. It didn't take much, but they were stacked and crisscrossed in a way that it's like, it's a weird spot because it's like, I think that there's people, I don't think it's known about enough yet for people to hoax. But I know there's people that go up there. And the last thing we're trying to do is do anything in the slight that makes it seem like it couldn't be human. Because, one, we're out there, we don't want to get fooled by something. And we don't want to leave anything that's going to fool somebody.
Right. It's rude. It's disrespectful. It delegitimizes your claim to anything.
Well, and you're not helping the other seekers because, like, we're all, whether we have different opinions and all this and that, and we argue about the science or the spirituality of it, like, we're all out there looking for something. It's a call to something.
Yeah.
And, you know, we respect that. And I think a lot of the people that we've met and the people that we saw out there, like, you can tell, like, they're serious about it.
Very serious.
Right. And they're not going to be like, oh shit, I found an apple and I like took a bite out of it and I left. Like, I mean, they're not, or I walked around barefoot. Like, they know that other people are looking, and it's the, what's the one thing where it's like, all boats rise when the tide rises, like, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
if, like, the evidence we find is evidence that you were adjacent to,
Yes.
and that might not be everybody. I'm not
We
out there
only
for
have our
competition.
Authenticity is all we have.
Yeah, I'm not out there for competition. I'm not like, I'm the one who found the, like, we're only out there because other people have been laying the groundwork and showing us on maps where to go.
Yeah, if I had Bigfoot, if I found Bigfoot, if I had Bigfoot, if I found Bigfoot, I would not tell anybody where it was.
Right. Like, you're gonna, don't tell them. Don't be a snitch.
Never.
So after that ridge, we also left apples and a Snicker up there. And to be in solidarity, we ate apples and Snickers too. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't want y'all to think that we weren't enjoying these. We ate more Snickers and apples, but it's fine.
I ate some apples.
Yeah. We drank some drinks,
Yeah.
but non-alcoholic drinks. Wink, wink. Because
Never
this
in
was
the state park.
never Scout's honor.
Yeah.
So then we went down to like a little bridge and like we were hearing stuff and did the FLIR. Okay, cool. We went along this trail. We found out where we got lost last time because we didn't get lost. We were still on the trail, but we just assumed part of the trail. We took one little wrong turn that took us like
3.5 hours out of the way in 36-degree weather.
right. I'm also the person that's like, shit happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's muddy. Everything is so muddy. And then we start walking down and we get into this old like pine section. And I think that's where people have been seeing stuff. It just feels old and it feels like a squatchy place.
Yeah.
I mean, these pine trees are like, you couldn't even wrap your arms around and touch.
No, 3 people. It would take 3 people.
Right. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen pines, but sometimes it's hard to find pines that big in this area because a lot of them are logged and a lot of them are grown, farmed and specifically.
Yeah.
But, no, it was a really cool, muddy place. There was really big, like, high tree breaks, but it was near the road. And so we're going around talking about, like, what would you be like? You would try to be real hidden and lay low. And that's the energy of that place. Like, I'm really close to being seen.
Mm-hmm.
So let me be more camouflage. Let me be
Yeah.
more, like, stealthy.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we took on that energy. It's like that place, like, was quieter somehow.
It was.
It was more like, shh, don't do it. Where the other stuff felt like you could be a little bit more free and careless because it's like it's more hidden.
Yeah.
But now you're close
deeper
to
in
a
the
road,
woods.
you have to be be careful. And that's kind of where you saw
The burgundy.
yeah.
The burgundy transparency. Not even a light, because like a light grows brighter than the surroundings. And not a blob, because I think about a blob being sort of opaque, but we were listening and looking off into the distance, and I saw just like an amorphous burgundy transparency, and I saw it for only a second. Tried to look back and see it again as my eyes scanned, but it wasn't there the second time, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, as you told me about it, I'm like, I did not see anything, and everything out there is brown and tan, and I mean, it's still very like
It's
monotone.
winter woods.
Right.
Yeah.
So burgundy would stand out.
Yeah. And it wasn't huge. I mean, I would say, I mean, it's hard to even fathom. Maybe 4.5 feet tall and maybe 3.5 feet wide, but just really like ephemeral, only very temporary. Not when my eyes darted back to see it, I could not see it again.
It's almost like you caught a glimpse of something else,
Yeah.
like a peek behind the curtain.
Right. There's nothing burgundy out there in nature.
And that was really close to the road. So we start walking back and we find out like this is where we took a turn. And had we not like cut through the woods to this bridge when we were out there with Clayton, we would have been out there all night. Because that was like a long way.
We would have frozen to death.
We didn't see any prints that way. But we got back to the camper. We were like, okay, let's go get some. Basically, we wanted to get firewood and wine.
Yeah.
And we stopped by and talked to Steve at the Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum. I think it's like the Paranormal and Cryptozoology Museum. It's in Littleton. It's the only Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum. So
Yeah.
you'll find it.
In a haunted house.
And yeah, and we're talking to him and like getting like updates, and he's like, yeah, you know, it's like we had some guys out there, and you know, it's been snowing here and all this. So we headed back. We got a fire going. We got our wine. It's getting dusky,
Yeah.
and we see a bat flittering in front.
Like a singular bat.
Yeah. And that's like a really like big sign from my familiar. Like I can tell when it stands out, when a bat stands out, because sometimes you look up and you see bats.
Yeah.
Other times it's like, this is the only bat I've seen since the season, because they're like hibernating, or they're roosting. I don't know what they call them. I had a dream I got bit by a bat last night,
Oh.
and it was like not going well. But I was also like, this bat, I was trying to be friends. But that's neither here nor there. And then we hear this, because if you've listened to Cursed or this, you know barred owls are connected to Hecate with me, and you've been hearing them.
Yeah.
We've been hearing them here. And we sit down, and we hadn't heard it the night before.
No.
I'm not saying that barred owls don't exist out there, but we heard this like loud barred owl call. And there was a couple of them going at it, just like calling back and forth and making a big old noise. Ruckus. And I was like, holy shit, you know what? That's the spot we were like, let's go back there tonight.
Yeah.
And we hadn't planned this, except we talked to Steve, and we're like, he was like, yeah, right behind, if you go down like over that little bridge, right behind your place is where like they're found, or you find evidence, or you hear them. So we had been there during the day, and we're like, oh shit, we know where that is. Let's go back there at night. Because owls are basically, it's almost like they're telling us where to go.
Right.
And then we're like, let's read some tarot. The second time. So the second time, I remember we got, I don't remember the first 3 of swords. No, 5 of swords. And then we had like the something of cups, because we're using the threads of fate tarot, and it's not gendered.
Yeah.
So it was something of cups. And then I remember the last one, because we got it when we did our second doll investigation, that's coming at the end of this month. The 3 of wands are reversed.
Oh, yeah.
And basically the 6 tarot cards we pulled, 3 the night before and the 3 this night, basically told us the exact same thing. Be open. Don't be basically like, don't be biased, don't rush in.
Don't go in with bravado.
Right. Don't have preconceived notions. Like, be open. What you think is here is not here.
Yeah.
And be open. Just be open. And before that, you had said, I feel like we're not just trying to come out here and talk to Bigfoot. I think we're going to fail. We need to, like, start from the ground up and get familiar with this place and, like, earn our way almost.
Yeah. Like, you can't just walk into the White House and talk to the president. Like, there's a chance you could talk to the president someday, but you have to work your way up.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not just going to talk to the manager. I need to talk to the hostess first. I need to talk to this. And we felt like there was more out here than just Bigfoot. And then in a hellier twist, not a twist, but in my head is like, what if Bigfoot got us out here? But that's not the only thing out here. Bigfoot's a part of it.
Yeah.
But we're looking for something bigger. Because this is a really charged area. It's like, it's a really cool area.
It is. It's unusual for the land type where they're at, if that makes sense. Like, they don't have mountains, they don't have ridges, but
Right.
weirdly there's this like one ancient remnant of the Appalachian mountain chain that just happens to be kind of plunked down in the middle of all the flatness.
Right. Between North Carolina and Virginia.
Yeah. Coastal, toward the coast.
Yeah, it's central, but it's closer to the coast than the mountains, I think.
Yeah.
So we get that tarot, we're like, oh shit. Like, this is the same story. You do your little offering. And I noticed I say little, but like I say it in more like when I say little, I'm like, I'm not straight white cis het male, but I'm worried about when I say little, it's like demeaning.
Yeah.
But when I mean little, I mean like this, like it's not just, it's like, it's thought about, it's important, it's curated.
Yeah, it's not showy or belligerent or...
When I listened to the Old Gods episode and I said your little accent, I meant like your cute, soft accent. And so if you hear me say that, like, don't think I'm being condescending or misogynistic. Like, the little offering was, and I think it's like, I'm not going to bring like this grandiose thing. It's like, this is specific for spirit communication. And, you know, it's on a little charcoal disc, so it is small. You've got your little metal chopsticks.
Yeah.
So I do think little, but
I do stuff small.
Yeah. I just do that. Like, that's, I guess I'm worried about it for...
Yeah, no, that word can be very,
And if I'm worried about it, obviously, I'm not, like, I'm thinking about it, like, oh my God, that might sound...
No, I never thought about the word little like that.
Right, like, oh, honey, you got your little offering, so fucking cute.
Look at your little shoes.
Right.
Yeah.
I went out there with my
Snickers
big-ass
bar.
sage bundle because I'm, like, alpha witch. No.
Ew.
Ew. So we're like, let's go for those owls.
Yeah.
And we get our FLIR camera, we got our lights, we got the backpack, we got our spirit boxes. We're going to do a fucking spirit box where those owls are.
It's pitch black, full moon,
Yeah.
ice cold.
So we walk down there by memory for the most part. We have the map. I've got the headlamp. And we're walking back down in these woods. And it's just as wet and muddy as it was. And it's dead quiet. You can kind of hear some traffic, which is weird. But I feel like because it's wintry and all the leaves are off, like the traffic. I mean, there are roads. But that doesn't negate where we are.
Yeah, like we're not hearing tree frogs. We're not hearing cicadas.
We are
We're
hearing
not
a bunch of frogs, though.
Oh, were there frogs?
Well, I mean, the whole time we were hearing frogs. But that was really quiet. Because you're like, we're in a witch journey.
Yeah.
The full moon is like all fucking Tim Burton, like Nightmare Before Christmas, like big orange fucking ball in the
Foggy
sky.
sky, like clouds all perfectly feathered, smoky amethyst colored sky.
Our breath is creating a fog. It's misty.
Yeah.
It's like, this is it.
Yeah.
And
This
so,
is your spiritual experience you asked for.
right. So we're getting like, I mean, if you looked at it, it's probably, I mean, it was a good little distance from behind the campsite, but it was still behind the campsite.
Yeah.
And we're walking back there and we're like, oh, it's so quiet. We need to find a spot. We'll know it when we see it. And then you left a little offering.
Yeah.
Again, little, as in like little.
Cute.
Cute and meaningful.
Yeah. It was. It was a cedar bundle that I had collected from a nature preserve. Not that you should ever do that. Never mind about that
Right.
story.
Don't think about it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
And some dried flowers that I'd had for a while, and some feathers from a celebration that I took part of.
Yeah. And left it there. We kept going a little bit. And then all of a sudden, in the darkness, we hear this loud, like, that's an awful howl, but
No, it was
it scared us.
startling. It was like the kind of thing that would make you pee yourself a little bit.
Right. If you're walking in the pitch black, I mean, with a full moon, imagine if it was a new moon, dark woods where you think there's something out there, like, it's scary. Like, you can't, you convince yourself that you're fine, but, like, really, the minute you start thinking about what might be out there, you start really like, oh shit, what am I even doing? And then this, like, loud, like, boisterous noise above you.
Abrupt, sharp.
And then we're like, well, we knew immediately.
Aggressive.
Yeah, we knew immediately it was the owl.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, that was right above us. And you can hear it in our videos, in our Witch With Me little segment. And I was like, I think we're in the spot. And so we listen and you can hear the owl. And then it stops. Like, it doesn't ever do it again.
It does 2 calls.
Right. And it's not even like it's like, oh, well, you guys are here and we're going to be quiet now. Like, we never heard any other owls the entire trip. And I know
Only
the
that
difference.
night.
I know the difference between hearing the owls, because you've seen my reaction when I hear them out on the porch here, even in Charlotte.
Somehow they follow you.
Yeah. And they follow me to Hickory.
Yeah.
But, like, you can tell them, like, oh, you hear the owls? And you could be like, you could tell the difference. I know when they mean something.
Yeah.
Because I know my internal thing, and I know they sound, like, pertinent. Or when it sounds like you're listening in on the conversation. It's like, I know when they're talking to me, or, like, pay attention.
Yes.
And that's what I think the balloons are, and that's what Timothy got into, too. But that's a whole other thing. It's like, I feel like it's a pay attention. I got your attention, and you know the balloons are related to a thing that has your attention. Now they have your attention. Goblins. But
It's gremlins.
the owl stopped.
Yeah.
It's quiet. And I'm like, let's do a spirit box.
Yeah.
I went to put my bag down on a stump, and I was like, did you hear that? And you're like, there's something in the leaves rustling.
Yes.
And it sounded like footsteps.
Not a terribly small thing by any stretch. Not a squirrel. Not a large beetle.
But it wasn't Bigfoot. It wasn't like a
No.
human size, but it was like, there's a critter.
It didn't rattle the earth below me.
Right. There's a critter back there.
Yeah.
And we turn around, we shine a light, we're like, we don't see it. Then we hear it start snorting like a pig.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit.
It's terrifying because pigs are terrifying.
Boars are terrifying.
Wild pigs.
Wild pigs are very aggressive and ferocious and vicious.
Yeah, they've got tusk. They've got no fucks left to give.
Right. Who's pork rinds now, motherfucker?
Right.
And
Oh, look at these long pigs, pinky, walking on their 2 legs.
Right.
Think they're better than
you
everybody.
think you're better? You're not smarter.
I'm a vegetarian to all the wild boars out there.
And we like listen, and I'm like terrified
Yeah.
because it's getting closer, it's getting louder, and it's snorting, and it's like snorting like a pig snorts and roots around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why wouldn't I see it on the FLIR? Why don't I see it on the FLIR? Why don't we see it? If it's this big and this close, like, why is it not on the FLIR? I'm like, what sound does a beaver make? Like, are they nocturnal? I don't know. Like, 100 feet from here, we saw beaver stuff, but there's not beaver stuff on this trail. Like, it's along the water. Maybe it's a beaver. I don't fucking know. But it's right in front of us, and it sounds like it's coming closer.
We went from like this huge spiritual witch walk under the full like smoky amethyst sky to prey. We were prey.
Right. Because it's like, so I'm like, I've got the FLIR, we've got the camera, you're recording. Because, like, well, yeah, if this is it, like, get it on camera.
Found footage.
And I've got my hatchet, and I'm like, I said, I'm getting this fucking ready because I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Like, if a boar starts charging us, like, I don't want to kill anything tonight, but I might have to.
Right.
I don't fucking know.
Like, don't bite me a bunch. Fuck.
Right, don't gore me with your tusks.
Sir.
And I get the FLIR, and I think I see something, and I don't know. It looked like a small thing, but then when we watched the footage back, I think it was just the way I was moving it. And being in dark, you don't have a good reference. And I felt like I thought I saw something moving, because I was like, I think I see it. I think I see this little blob. And it got quiet, and we didn't hear it. We didn't see it. I kind of walked forward, and I was like, I can't see it. So I was like, but that's weird. Now it's got our attention. So we start walking more, and there's like the trail's muddy as fuck.
Yeah.
Then we start seeing some weird prints. Not weird enough to say like let's cast this, because it's covered in a layer of like 2 to 3 inches of water anyway.
Because believe me, I sure as hell was carrying 10 pounds of casting
You
powder
were.
and 5 pounds water on my back.
For a couple hours. And
Beast mode.
the thing is, this is not mud. This isn't like, oh, I'm kind of soppy. This is clay, so it sticks. It's thick. It's like...
Silt.
At any point, I felt like we could have made a vase.
Oh, yeah.
A pottery.
Yeah.
Because it was like that sticky, heavy, thick, dense clay.
But that really fine particle, silty,
Mm-hmm.
lots of decay. Yeah.
And so
Y'all should see our dirt. It's amazing.
Right. We saw some prints that looked not outside of the human range, but different, but weird. And I'm saying weird as in not like, this is definitely a Bigfoot print, but like, you see lots of tread marks. You see lots of dog prints. We saw a couple raccoons, no deer, which we saw deer last time. And no bears, even though there are bears out there. And they had just seen some bear prints. Some people said they might be tire tracks that looked at them, like bikes. But this is not a biking trail.
Right.
You would have a really hard time biking. As somebody who mountain bikes not well at all. Like, even the advanced ones, like, I would, like, your bike tread would not look like that. And we would have seen more bike tread.
Yeah, bike tread's continuous.
And we did see it on some trails, but not these trails.
Right, on the bike trails.
Right, on the bike trails. And it's like, well, you know, some of these might have overlapped. Some of them might have been double prints. Some of them might be mudslides. They're interesting. We'll post them. See what you think. One of them was 14.5 inches.
Yeah.
So my brother is 6'7", Clayton. You might have heard him on the last... did we have him on for the Medoc? I don't think so. But we had him on from Familiars.
He was on Cursed.
On Cursed. And he's 6'7", and he wears like a size 15. But even when you measured his foot, his bare foot, he was 14 inches. So this was bigger than his foot.
Yeah.
Now it could have been a double print. It could have been this and that. But we were trying to gauge like the mud, like displacement. Looks like one continuous sweep. On the one you found that we took a picture of might have been a double.
Yeah.
But it still looked like toe drags. I don't know. But when you talk to the people that find prints around there, they're like, you're not going to find like 6-inch deep prints because of the weight. Like, and I've got like these heavy boots on that are hiking boots, and the tread probably goes down 1/4 of an inch. Even if I stomp, like, it's just too dense.
Yeah,
It doesn't
the
sink.
ground is hard. It's not fertile. It's not good for farming. It's not like the soft green earth. It's like the eke your existence out of this cold hard rock earth.
And I feel like there's a difference. Like, okay, a dog print can get a little bit deeper, but it's like more concentrated on the weight.
Yeah.
It's not as displaced.
They have
It's not as spread
claws.
out. So like, yeah, the dog prints look like deeper, but human prints don't go much because the weight is spread out evenly. So, okay, we find those, we take pictures, we walk a little bit further. I start doing some Bigfoot yells. We got a whistle. They respond to that in the area. We find this big, like, we find tree breaks. We find logs, like, in weird spots.
They keep the trail really clean.
That is a well-maintained trail.
Yeah. So why did that one log, very large log, just happen to be over the trail in that one place?
Right. And maybe they were moving it for some reason, and they had to stop. But like the log didn't drag from anywhere.
They being the Bigfoot.
Right. But like, I mean, you know, we try to like use reason where it's like, oh my God, how'd this get here? Where are the drag marks? Where were they moving it from? What happened? Like, they're trying to keep the trail clean. Okay. So we come out, we get back to our place, and we're like, wow, that felt special.
Yes.
The full moon through the pines. We didn't have a Bigfoot, but we did not feel alone.
No.
We felt seen. We felt a part of stuff. I didn't feel like a complete stranger or odd man out.
No.
But I felt like we were getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But I still felt like it was like, well, we don't know you. Who are you?
Yeah, like you can sit on the porch, but you can't come in.
Right. wait on your ride, but don't come in. You don't know
Right.
us. So then it's like, okay. So we got back. We were tired.
Very, very tired.
I think
And
we walked
cold
like
and wet.
I looked at my Apple Watch. We had walked like 12,000 steps. It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Uphill and downhill. Our peats were tired.
Yeah.
So we're like, we got one more day. We're gonna wake up. We don't have to bring the van back till like 7:00, in a couple hours away. So let's look for these trails because they're telling us like how to access this bridge. We had a person comment on our YouTube like, "There's a bridge, a service road, go down there." Steve told us like, "There's a bridge."
An iron bridge, he said.
An iron bridge. We think we found it, but that van was too big to go down the service road. So we're like, let's go and we're going to hike in. We got time. So this all culminates to the point where we got lost last time and came out. And then the night before we came out, we're like, let's go down the other trail. And
Let me set the scene. It's a misty morning. The fog is thick. It's
Yeah.
rolling in. The ancient pines.
And I wasn't prepared for what we found back there. And I'm not saying that we found Bigfoot, but it was a whole entire different space. The energy was different. The landscape was different. I mean, it's right across the road from everything we were in, but it felt primordial. Like you said, it felt ancient.
Yeah.
And like one of the clips you can see, I'm like, I feel like if we ran across a dinosaur, it would be normal.
Yes.
And we saw this huge X structure. Like, it's like these structures point, they're almost like arrows.
They are. They grab your consciousness, if nothing else. They don't tell you where to look, but they tell you to look.
And I mean, like I said, I've been in woods my entire life and I've seen shit and I know what a tree break that happens. And like some of them can be chalked up to all that. But the next morning, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we even left and cleaned up and did this last trail, we went to look at our offerings.
Yeah.
I expected to see maybe the chocolate bar gone because the rain wasn't there anymore and the apple like rolled off. The bone was still there. The coin was still there.
Yeah.
The little mushroom you left was still there. The Snickers bar was gone. Unwrapped. Like we didn't leave a wrapped Snickers bar out there.
Because we're not assholes.
Right. And we left a whole apple.
Yeah.
Gone.
Organic apple.
I looked around to see if they had maybe like fallen or rolled off the apple. And it was like, they're gone. Something took them. Okay. Trail cam. It's going to have a raccoon on it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see this big fat raccoon.
Right. It might have a stray cat. There's no cats out there. But I was like, something's going to come and get this. This is a very sensitive trail cam. It's got all three. It's like, it's motion in the day and at night. It's a thermal IR. It's really cool. I got it on Amazon for a really good price. It has amazing reviews. It's got the 3 different sensors. So it's not like, oh, you have to be right in front of it and jumping around. We had the sensitivity set to medium because like the wind was blowing, there was rain. But the medium is still pretty sensitive. I was like, even if the apple rolled off because of gravity and the wind, it would have probably shot a picture of the apple.
Yeah, it would show you a fat squirrel.
So I'm excited. I'm like, let's see this. And you can look at the trail cam. It's got a screen on the inside. And there was us leaving the apple. There was 3 pictures and a video because I have it set to take 3 shots and then a minute-long video. And
Anytime it detects movement.
Yeah. Whether it's day or night.
Yeah.
And it's HD. The pictures are phenomenal.
They really are.
They're crisp.
They're at least cell phone 2015 quality.
Yeah. Probably later. And the odd thing is not what we caught. It's what we didn't catch. Because the next photo was us returning in the morning and that stump was gone. The stump was there. The apple was gone.
Yeah.
The Snickers was gone. The apple was gone. The mushroom was still there.
The bones, they were there.
And this was set up in a way that any direction that you would approach the stump, it was far enough back, it would catch it.
Yeah.
And one of the things they say with Bigfoot is they can elude these things by making them not happen. So I'm
And
like,
that's how you survive millennia.
I was like, maybe a mouse, let's say for the sake of argument, a mouse came up or a squirrel came up to get the Snickers or to knock the apple over. The apple alone would have triggered it.
Yeah.
Moving. I was like, even if there was a spirit, let's say that it was non-corporeal and something came and the apple was floating up, it still would have triggered it. The apple moving would have triggered it. It's like something came up and got it and did whatever it wanted, but there was no tracks. We looked.
Yeah.
There was no tracks, small or big, and the other's leaf litter, but...
You make indentations in leaf litter.
Right. And, I mean, if something was getting the apple, like, you feel like they would have, like, gnawed on it. You would have seen little chunks. You would have seen something. I think part of me is almost like, I wish there was a Bigfoot in this picture, or a coyote or a raccoon, but to me, it's almost weirder that they're gone and nothing triggered it.
That's so much weird.
And a person couldn't have got to it without triggering it, because even when you open it, it takes a picture.
Yeah.
And 100%, I don't think people go up there, and that camera was almost hard for us to find, and we put it there. Like, it was pretty camouflaged.
It blended in.
So I don't know. I don't fucking know. Something took that shit and it avoided the camera.
Which,
I think
much
that's,
respect.
I think that's weirder than there being something on it.
Absolutely.
Fuck. How?
Like, but a guy in a ghillie suit would have made more sense than nothing.
Right. Even the apple rolling off would have triggered a picture.
Yeah.
But then what took the Snickers? The Snickers was like, because some of them, like, we stick the apples on, like, branches. So it's, like, interesting and stuff. We thought leaving the bone and the coin might be interesting. Back to where we were walking through the primordial spot, it felt like you would see a Sasquatch at any time run between trees or peek out behind a tree.
It felt like you were a part of nature. You weren't a human in a nature area. Like, you were in nature, a part of nature.
Yeah. And so we're walking back there, and we know this, like, there's a spot. We're looking on the map, and we come across these two structures that aren't, like, shelters, but they almost look like blinds.
Yeah.
And, like, they put it in that book where the footprints end. It's like, well, people say these are, like, deer blinds, or these are people hiding spots. It's like, well, that's a shitty deer blind.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what if Bigfoot makes it to, like, leave their young in? It's like, well, that's a shitty nest.
Right.
And I was like, okay, hear me out. If you're being aware and smart, you're not just going to, like, build something from nothing. If something fell, you would, like, add to it. Mm-hmm. Now imagine these structures, if the branches that are broken and dead now had still leaves on them, they were close to a road. I was like, if you ducked behind this, even if you were 7-8 feet tall and you ducked behind this and there was any kind of foliage on it, you would never be seen.
No. And it was camouflaged with the forest.
Because we drove down that road and you couldn't see 5 feet in, but obviously we were like 50 feet away from the road and we could see the road.
Yeah.
And hear the cars. Maybe this is like a little vantage point. Like, what if something is using this to hide behind to make sure the coast is clear and then cross? Mm-hmm. I don't think Bigfoots live in this area, but I do think that they traffic it because it's a little too populated, but... The other thing is, like, this area has been logged in the last couple of years, and that's when the sightings spiked. So, go humans.
Moo, we're the best.
We're doing what we're always doing.
Hate us.
Gross. Hate it.
Yeah.
To quote our friend Erica, I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate it.
Gross.
So we keep going in, and we find, like, this looks like the service road. Let's keep walking. And we get to a point, and I'm like, we both look at each other like, we're hearing flute music. Like, not even like fucking like, oh, we've got a CD playing. Like, this is like, like, this is like somebody playing a flute. I'm like, Pan is out here.
You hear breath. You can hear the breath.
Yeah, the breath, like, going across, like, and I'm like, Pan is out here. Sup, Pan? More hellier shit, but also... Like, there's a goddamn...
in the fog of the misty woods, there is flute music.
There's a goat man out here playing his flute.
I was ready to go.
Right. And it sounded like it was behind us. And we're like, what the fuck? And we start doing an Instagram live. And this is videos up. So if you hear this, go watch it because like it was an adventure.
We were shooketh.
And we're walking down and it gets louder. And it's like, it's beautiful. It's enchanting. And it's like, we want to find the source of it. But also like, it feels from a time that we're not a part of.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's directly in front of us and we're walking. And I'm like, this has got to be a human. And it's like, but it doesn't got to be.
No.
What if it's not a human?
You have to keep your mind open.
Right. So we walk
Per
up.
the tarot.
Right. And we're just like enthralled by this music. It's like the Pied Piper calling us in. And we get up there and I was like, this has got to be a human because it's stopping. And it was just like beautiful. And I see this like person like move kind of a little bit in a shirt across the river. And I'm like, that is a person. And then they start whistling and then they do tree knocks. And I'm like I'm kind of getting like a little emotional because I'm like, this person's out here playing music for Bigfoot just because it's a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't have the FLIR camera out. I'm not, they're knocking and they're whistling. And obviously they're trying to make contact. But this person's not out here with night vision cameras. They're playing like probably the oldest form of communication that us as a species and whatever this entity is has communicated with. And they're just out there playing for it.
And raising energy.
And I wanted to be like, after it ended, we walked across the bridge. That person eventually left. They had this big, like, it almost looked like a, what
Like a bamboo reed?
Yeah, it was like too big. And I was like, God, I don't know how you were playing this. Like, but I wanted to be like, whatever you're playing was beautiful. But I was like, no, this was not our moment. This was your moment with whatever. We're not even going to talk to you, interact with you. We enjoyed the music too.
Yes.
And I would like to think that there's Bigfoots out there. But what we came upon was like, this is where everybody was saying they saw prints the most. And there's a cemetery out there somewhere in the middle of a mountain, which is like the part of the state park that's called the mountain. And it felt like we were on the precipice, the doorway, the entryway of a whole other realm. But we didn't have time or we weren't ready to go back there yet.
Yeah.
So we stayed on this side of the river and we walked back down looking for prints. We left another little Snickers and apple. We shot our Witch With Me TV like little thing. So you go watch that because we try to do exclusive stuff for that because it's fun, but we don't want you guys to miss out.
Yeah.
And so we walked and we went around the whole loop and that was pretty much the trip. Right? Is there anything I'm missing? Except for the bonus. We're going to talk about your crazy experience. But to sum it up, I think we both agree on this, but my thoughts real quick are we came one time and we heard the calls. It was enough to get us back. If we didn't have anything, we might not have gone back. But we heard the calls. We had all this stuff. We felt like we had unfinished business. Like we were just chipping away at the tip of the iceberg. And we're like, finally, we're going to camp. We're going to get something. We're going to hear those calls again. And we didn't.
No.
And it was like, with the tarot and like how we felt and that kind of disconnect, it was like, slow down. We want to interact with you. We want to welcome you. And that might just be our own bias. But it's like, you have to start. You can't go over, what is it? Like, you can't jump ranks.
The echelon.
Right. And like, that's even, you said, you're like, I feel like we have to get to know these little spirits. And you can't tell me that it was an accident that we had picked a spot. And then within 30 minutes of getting a fire going, the owls were calling from back there. We just figured out, like, let's try this spot.
Yeah.
And the owls. And then to not hear the owls anymore till we get to that spot. And then like, bam. And then never again.
Yeah.
Not the whole trip. Not that rest of that night. Not the whole trip. And you can hear those owls pretty far away. They're barred owls. You can look them up if you want to hear their calls. They're loud.
Yes.
And they're unmistakable. And it wasn't just hearing a different kind of owl. It wasn't hearing like a coyote. It was a specific owl to Hecate with me in my experience, in my personal experience.
Indescribably close.
Right. And in this exact spot. And then to be like, well, I just thought, oh, this is beckoning us in. And then we get there and it tells us like to stop. There's one part we forgot to tell in the woods, but as we were walking, we heard those little grunts again and like the walking in the leaves, and it felt like something was following us.
Yeah.
You can see that video again on Witch With Me TV, or eventually our YouTube will put up other videos. So go subscribe, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be more activity, I think, on YouTube. But we pretty much covered everything. We didn't forget anything else. And I feel like all of this brought us here. It got us here. And then we felt like we didn't really get to experience much. We got to experience something, but not what we thought. And then we get to that like precipice, like where the flutes are playing. There's that huge slab of granite. We know this trail could take a few hours. We didn't have the time. God, I want to just go up there. But it's like, no, you can't just have it all. And it's like, I felt like we were at the doorway. And then right after we got back, the person that we had seen out there, and we saw him whistle from across the thing, he was on the guy's YouTube saying like he saw a figure move back there. And so I feel like when we go again, we're going to camp, but we're going to spend all of our time going around the mountain, and we're going to hang out there, and who knows what we'll find. Maybe Bigfoot, maybe nothing, maybe we'll be led to a different part, but this is a trilogy at least.
Yes.
And I just like, we came away feeling so moved by things that I had to stop myself, because I'm like, I feel like I want to find Bigfoot. I want to get out there. We're here. Like, it's pouring down rain. We're tired. Let's just do tarot in a spirit box. The spirit box didn't work. I wanted to get out there and just look. And I would get up and like go smoke and like shine the flare out in the middle of the night. And it's like that eagerness to find something, but at the same time, like, don't let that eagerness let you like not be in the moment.
Right. Don't let you miss the thing that you're gonna see, that you're gonna know.
Right. And I feel like honestly, this trip is like, obviously we were looking for Bigfoot, but it was kind of just exploring and learning the area, being one with it. And like we didn't come in guns blazing and like, we're out here like making this nature our bitch. Like, we were admiring it. We were taken aback by some of the scenery and like everything. And it's like, this is what we're here for. This is what it wants us to see. Respect, be in awe of it. Like, and then you can talk to our spirits. Bigfoot's one of many.
Yeah. See the way the wind changes the landscape. See the way logging changes the landscape. See the way
Have you ever seen
the earth changes.
Whatever Pocahontas song I was thinking of?
The
Wolf
wind.
cry.
Yeah, wind cry.
At a blue corn moon.
Yeah. And then the leaves go on my hair.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the trip. Did I leave anything out?
No.
That's not going to be the bonus?
No, I don't think so. I think that was a lot of it.
Yeah.
My important takeaway was like, don't go in with bravado. Understand the hierarchy from the beginning. See where you are. Understand where you are.
First off, you were nobody. Y'all coming out here, y'all nobody.
No, I don't think that.
No, I know. But it felt like a continuation of like what we started there. And it's like introductions. It's getting to know a place. It's getting to know the spirits of place. It's getting to know your place in that. And being humble. And we'll never go there and not leave something at that stump.
Yeah.
Even though
that stump won't be there much longer because it's very old.
But it's like that spot. It's like, I feel like we asked, like, we're coming into this spot that feels important. We don't feel like we need to get out of it. That's the spot where something had pulled you out of a hole. Mm-hmm. But we also didn't feel like it was our responsibility to just like, or like our right to stay there and hang out and just make whatever we wanted of it. We were visiting. Mm-hmm. We left a gift almost at a threshold and an altar.
Like when you visit a grave.
Yeah. And, you know, we're like, that's like for us, like that's our connection to that place. It's like, that's our like, our toll.
Yeah.
Gotta pay the toll, troll.
Yeah.
To get into this Bigfoot's hole. And yeah, I think I can't wait to go back. I I don't know when it'll be, but I feel like we're scratching like the very surface and looking up at these ridges in this like mountainous area where they were playing flutes and people were looking up, and it's like I mean, elevation wise it's a lot different than anything else around there.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a whole different part
Right.
of the house. We were on the porch hanging out the first time. Second time we got into the entryway and maybe like, you know, the parlor. And we're not even into like the ballroom yet.
No.
So I can't wait to see what happens again or what happens next.
I'm super excited. No matter where we go.
Right.
I think it's a continuation of this journey.
Yeah. So this is part 2, the return to Medoc Mountain. And then we'll have to see what the trilogy is. And then we'll go and do like a prequel trilogy that like undermines the other ones. And then we'll start changing stuff and George Lucas it up.
Right.
Which means nothing to you.
At all.
At all. Who's Skywalker? Is that the ranch?
With the Wendigo?
Yes, the Wendigo Skywalkers.
They sound delightful.
So, that being said, we do have a little bonus for you. It's not too long, but it's a really, I don't know. You experienced this, so you'll tell it. But
Only me. Y'all, only me.
but we'll tell that here in a second. But for that, you can, if you like the show, check the show link, the show notes out. There's links to like our Instagram. You can follow us at Hex-Files Pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. There are links to our YouTube. Go subscribe. But take a minute, if you would, if you haven't already, to leave us a 5-star review. Well, you know what? It doesn't even have to be 5 stars.
Unless you're mean.
But leave us a review. Tell us what you think. We like feedback. We want your stories. Subscribe on wherever you listen. Review us wherever you listen. Rate us wherever you listen. Tell a friend about us. Like, you know, we're only getting started with this, and we've got so much stuff coming up. And we love interacting with you all. So tell your friends. Tell the people you care about somewhat.
Say hi to us.
Yeah, we like it when people say hi.
We
No, I'm
like
just kidding.
it.
That's an Aaron Mankey reference. But no, we do like when people tell us stuff. We're blown away with like the responses that we get, and people like want to interact with us. Like, we're just out here like doing what we would have done anyway, and it's just so cool that people like connect to it and relate to it. But yeah, do that if you don't mind. And I think that's about it, except for the bonus.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to hear the bonuses, you can visit our Patreon.
Right.
And that link's going to be in there too.
It's worth precisely $1.
At least. And you know what? Right now, if you leave us a review and you haven't before, you can leave it on Podchaser. You can leave it on Apple. But show us proof that you reviewed us, and we might send you a free sticker. We got a couple extra ones.
They're real cute.
Yeah. And they're like UV. You put them on your car. They'll last up for 5 years at least. Yeah. With fading and peeling.
Put them on your water bottle. Make your water spooky.
Yeah. Drink that shit. It'll give you like alien powers.
Yeah. Spook water.
But yeah. Until next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.